Hey there, Prairie Plant Girl here. It's the beginning of October and it's time for me to start getting some things done around the yard. I thought I'd give you a quick little look around because I think things have changed since the last time you saw it. We are now about 3 weeks past our average last frost date. We've only had a couple of light frosts. It's about 5 degrees Celsius out right now, a little bit chilly. And I just want to get some work done around the yard, but I thought I'd give you a quick little look at maybe some things that have changed, what it's looking like right now before I get started, because I'm going to be in the process of cutting back my annuals, and even some of my perennials I'll cut back a little bit, and pulling up anything that needs to go in for storage, like my Dahlias, my Cannas, my begonias, all those kind of things. I've already started on some of that. And emptying my rain barrels. I have two rain barrels over here. I don't know how it shows up in the shadows there. They're already emptied and upside down. You see the taps are at the top right now. So I've got those emptied and they're flipped over for the winter. I blew up my sprinklers, so my underground sprinkler lines are all blown out and ready for winter now, and my water is shut off from the house to outside now. I've got a lot pulled up in the garden, so let's start having a little look around here. We had a huge windstorm yesterday, so all my furniture's kind of bunched up and covered up outside, but things are coming to an end here. So I still need to get through and cut back these pots here. I have some begonias in here. Mostly what you can see right now is the impatiens, so they just need to be cut back. And then the begonias that are in there will need to get lifted. And there's not a lot that will need to be done in this bed. I will just kind of cut a few things back. I will come in and cut back any hostas that are in here, and because I've had the hosta virus X, I'll have to be cleaning my secateurs really well between that. These are actually amaryllis, so need to be lifted and taken inside. And most of the rest will just kind of stay the way it is. I will cut the ladies' mantle back just because I find it such a mess in the spring to clean up, but otherwise I like to leave most of my perennials out. This basket here, I'll need to take, there's I think 3 begonias in there that all need to get lifted, taken inside. So I need to deal with that. The rest of my hanging baskets, you can see the fence is empty. I've taken them all down already. My peonies will all get cut back. It's better to cut those back in the fall. And then my pots here, my pots will all need to get cleaned out, and most of them have a dahlia in the center, so those will all get lifted and stored. Those beautiful hydrangea blooms. Otherwise, I'll just come through, and anything that's annual, I'll cut right back, and most of the perennials will just stay the way they are. It's just better. I find they overwinter better here to leave them up, and then if there's any dieback, it's not dying completely to the ground. I think it kind of insulates the root system a little bit to have that extra on top. I've already come out and taken the squash off the trellises back there. And I've been trying to keep all the shrubs, evergreens, and anything newly planted watered well. I did move some shades of red heliopsis that I had right in the front here. They're just too big. And I just came out one day when I had some time and I put one back. I don't know if you can really even see the stems back there. There's another one back there by that shepherd's hook. Moved those around. I still have potatoes that need to be harvested. There's carrots back there that still need to be harvested. More pots need to get cleaned out. My sweet potatoes, you can tell we haven't had any real severe frosts, because although they're suffering a little, they're not died back yet. So we'll see if anything comes out of those. I got them started kind of late this year. You can see a little bit of frost maybe on the soil here where the peppers were. And these squash vines definitely got hit by frost. The sun hits this part when the frost is still in the plant, so they're more damaged than the sweet potato vines that are a little bit more protected. still have cauliflower. So this is I think this is De Purple, is what it's called. And there's more plants back there, and they should be fine. They can take some cool weather. Still have tomatoes that need to get cleaned up, but I've just been coming out and taking them as they start to blush and taking them in the house, cut the plants back, and just letting them kind of finish up. Out here, I haven't covered them or anything, but just letting them go as long as they can with the weather that we have. I've come in and cleaned out all of my beans, taken those all in. So there's just a couple of parsnips. I had horrible germination on my parsnips this year, so I need to get those couple that are there pulled up. I've got all the watermelon and squash and beets and celery pulled out of this bed and cleaned up. This is a pot of perennials that I want to be able to grow in pots, but I just want it to be able to overwinter, so I've just put it in a bigger tree can, and I've just buried it down the ground to try and hopefully get it to overwinter for next year. Got my cucumbers all cleaned up. There's still potatoes in the front that need to get cleaned up. And all of my pumpkins and melons are cleaned up, except there's a couple of tip-top melons hanging down here. The one at the top definitely isn't ripe. The bottom one might actually be worth taking in and giving a try. Garden's pretty much finished up. Just a few things left in the food part of things. Like I said, we had horrible windstorms, so this is knocked over, but you can see I've taken the firecracker vine off of these trellises on these pots. I left a little bit. I was hoping to get some seed off of this, but it doesn't seem to have really produced seed for me, even though I grew it from seed. And the squirrels have been coming in and taking the heads off my sunflowers and wreaking havoc with them, so they're kind of dragged and knocked all over. And then, I can see there's garbage blew in the yard yesterday. I'll get that cleaned up, but I'll come in, and most of this in here is annuals, and then I have some things like gladiolus and dahlias and crocosmia that need to get lifted out of that one area right there, so I'll get that done. And I will cut most of this back. I'll try and leave the perennials up at least 30 centimeters or so, and everything else will just get cut right off because it's annual. And just get things cleaned up in here so that when it snows, it's just a little nicer in here to move through. I've already put away my bird baths and my fountain. It's hard to close out the garden when you have things as beautiful still happening here. Something else I've been busy doing is I've been trying to get my greenhouse ready for next season. So I took everything out of it, and I don't know if you can remember, but in springs past, as much as I love this greenhouse, I've been very frustrated because it's been flooding every spring. So I took everything out of the greenhouse and hauled in dirt, and I did not record any of this, but I hauled in dirt, so I pulled all the gravel back, brought in as much clay as I had around the yard. Some of it is on this side over here is going to be potting soil that I dumped out of pots, which is not ideal, and hopefully it doesn't just float away on me. But I just wanted to get the job done, and it was something that was on my list for last fall that didn't get done, and so I just needed to get that handled and just get this floor raised up again. So it's been a little bit weird. I didn't realize really how far of a step it was down, but it was about this far stepping down into my greenhouse. And so I've been getting used to that as I'm coming through the door now that I'm not stepping down. But I also rearranged the shelves in here, and I'm hoping that that will make it better. in the winter and the spring, when I'm filming for you, I'm hoping you'll have better lighting because I've always had my workbench at the back here. And that's where I do a lot of my things. And then it's often quite shadowy and hard to get good lighting, as I have right now, poor lighting. But I've moved some of my plant benches around and put them back here, because actually in the spring I get a lot of morning sun and some afternoon sun coming in back here, and often want to have plants and things back here that maybe don't want super bright direct light but still want some good bright light, and I find like this is actually a good spot for them. And then I kept my staging over to this side over here that you can't see, because that's my east side, so it gets the most sunshine, and that's where most of my shelving is. And then I put my workbench over here, and I do think that will be better for filming in the winter and the spring for you, and just get some better lighting. So hopefully it is. Hopefully it doesn't make it worse with more weird shadows and that, but that's the plan. So everything's just kind of put back on here. It's not as organized and neat and tidy as I was hoping to get it, but I'll work on that slowly, and I have time over the winter. The big thing was getting everything out of here and getting this floor raised back up and put back together before freeze up. And then while I did that, I also took time to wipe down and wash and clean the windows. So that was a big job. But, oh, and I also took the wax-filled tubes, I think they're wax-filled, out of my auto openers for my windows. So if you live somewhere where it freezes and you have that type of mechanism on your greenhouse windows where they automatically open and close, then those need to get taken down and put inside so they don't freeze. If they freeze, that'll wreck them. So I have those all taken, I have 2 of them. I've taken them out and put them inside, and it's really easy to do. So I'll just show you the mechanism. So that's the little hinge or arm that opens and closes the window automatically. And normally the tube is just in here and goes up to the top there. And and you can see that little darker cylinder in the middle that goes into the tube. So when the wax in the tube expands, it pushes on that and it pushes the window open. So there's just a couple of screws that go through these holes on the side there, so they just need to get just little tiny screws. They get undone, then that whole cylinder pulls out. I just put the screws back in the cylinder for storage, and I take them inside. That's a really simple, easy little job to do, but it can be easily forgotten because they're kind of up in the sky there. But it needs to be done, like I said, so that you don't have your cylinders break, and they're very expensive to replace. So make sure if you live somewhere, like I said, where it freezes and you have that type of thing, make sure it gets taken and put inside. I'll also be going through, and any batteries that I have for any of my lawn equipment, yard equipment, those will all go inside as well, so they're not sitting out freezing over the winter. And like I said, I'm getting all my rain barrels emptied and flipped upside down so they're not full, because then they'll get full of ice and expand and they can crack and break and wreck the taps on them. So that's something else to do. And like I said, I've already blown out my sprinkler system. I have a couple of videos on blowing out the sprinkler, so if you're not sure how to do that, you don't need to hire someone to do it. Just check. It's really actually quite easy to do. It can be a little bit intimidating the first couple of times, but it is easy to do. So I'll put some links to videos for that. So today's agenda is going to be, I need to empty out, I have a big bucket of finished compost that's been sifted, and I want to get all of that taken out and put into some just saved soil bags. Like you can see down below here, that is actually my own finished compost that I've just reused those bags and filled them up. So I'm going to get probably 2 more bags under this workbench from my bin, and then I'm going to be emptying out my compost bin, which you've seen me do a million times. And I'm just going to be taking any finished compost or near finished compost and putting it into that bin that I'm going to be emptying the finished compost out of. I'm not sure that made sense. So that the bin is, my main bin is fairly empty, so that I can be adding to it all winter long. I'll collect up leaves all fall, so I can just keep putting layers in. And then when things thaw out again in the spring, the compost is all built up and ready to go, and it just starts making a great compost right away early in the spring. So that's what's on my agenda for today. Like I said, I've got to be getting all my tender bulbs and tubers and corms and things all lifted and cleaned up. I think you can probably see behind me, I have pots there. That's my ranunculus and anemones. I've just been slowly lifting and pulling them up as I come across them out in my yard and garden, because I had them kind of popped into different places all over. I actually have a couple of cannas sitting down here on the other side of me, right there. And I have more cannas. I have one more canna in the backyard to pull, a bunch of dahlias to pull, and I have some begonias in the back to pull, and gladiolus. So I have quite a few to lift yet. I did all the front yard already. It's all cleaned up and done. And the dahlias and begonias from the front yard, they're actually, the tubers are in my garage, which is insulated, because I think it's a little bit cold at night now that we're getting right down to freezing for those. The cannas and the ranunculus and anemones, they're fine out here for a little bit longer, and they can just die back, and then I'll get them all packed away. Again, I have lots of videos on how to do that, so check those out. I'll put some links for you. That's what I'm busy with in my garden this week, and I just thought you might be interested in an update of what's been going on. I think my last time I pulled out the camera was actually a week and a half, 2 weeks ago. So thought I'd give you a little update on that. Thanks for watching. Thanks for following along with me, and we'll see you in the next video. Bye.